On your mark. Get set. Go!
Double Dare. What kid doesn't love a show where you're getting covered in as much slime, muck, goop, and whatever that's supposed to be as possible? Me. But that's not important. The important thing is this show was amazing. Essentially got Nickelodeon to where it is today, or at least where it was when we were kids. And no great game show, because that's what it was as an afterthought, is complete without a great host. Marc Summers is a really interesting guy. He got into the show just as much as the contestants. He got slimed, he got ice-watered, he broke out in an Elvis song in one episode. Of course, to love that job, you have to love getting dirty. I mean, this is, after all, the show that proclaimed that it was
the messiest show on earth.
So of course Marc Summers got into all the slime and muck and goop and...
I have a form of anxiety disorder called obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD.
No. That guy was OCD? That's true dedication right there. As the nostalgia critic once said,
Marc Summers, on behalf of children everywhere, I give you the honorary Dude You Got Balls award. You deserved it, man. You deserved it.
Because OCD isn't quite as, simple perfectionism as most people like to present it to be. By definition, it's something that essentially hinders your life, like at least an hour out of every day. Focused on obsessions. And this isn't just like, oh my god, like Kesha is like so totally hot, I obsess over her like all the time kind of obsessions. I mean like obsessive rituals of sorts.
OCD is all about compulsive rituals, and mine were about cleanliness and making things symmetrical.
It's a matter of a pathological worry that anything can go wrong, and if anything goes wrong at all, the perfection of the world is shattered. It, as the definition suggests, hinders and absolutely devastates lives and families and all this, because, I mean, just look at Marc here. He's, oh man, that... Imagine if your husband decided to do that one day. Just straightened the rugs. Made sure, how far apart was it?
Making sure the hangers in my closet were approximately 2 inches apart. My OCD was about cleanliness and order, but there are other OCD symptoms too, like constant checking or even hoarding.
But it's not like it can't be cured or anything. Well, there is no set cure, no medical explanation or go away. But as any habit, really, it can be broken over time. It's just this is more physical because there actually is a neurobiological abnormality that causes this. But it's less this is wrong with you as it is you are now prone to this being wrong with you. Any sort of stress or traumatic event can trigger OCD, but it's not actually the cause of it. You have to be sort of prone to it to begin with. And I guess humans all have a certain amount of OCD within them. Of course, you're only diagnosed if it actually hinders what's considered socially acceptable life. When it comes to OCD in general, there is a very set qualification for exactly how this brings about. Psychologists have a list of 6 major signs that this could be a problem. One of which being the belief that one has the ability to cause and or could be responsible for preventing negative outcomes, because we really can't predict the future, but preemptives for everything is absolutely impossible. The belief that having a bad thought is just as bad as doing a bad deed, possibly worse for even conceptualizing it. Stemming from this is the belief that it's not only possible but essential to have total control over one's own thoughts. So you can't think anything wrong because you have to control your mind entirely. Otherwise, again, the perfection of your own inner world will be ruined. This all stems, again, from a negative overestimation of threats, believing that any negative event just is the worst thing possible. Now, obviously, this all brings about a sense of perfectionism in that everything has to be in its place or everything has to work out the way it's supposed to, and there can be no leeway. But really, this all comes from the belief that it's necessary that nothing can be bad in the world and you can't let anything bad happen. And these 6 factors really do control one's life in a sick way. There are 2 major therapies involved in dealing with OCD. Both of them are pretty much integral and can work just as well as one another. They all sort of serve under a cognitive behavior therapy, which works wonders, really. Almost like cutting an addiction, actually. The first half of this is exposure and response prevention therapy, which is essentially the idea that in order to get rid of this fear of non-perfection, you have to first face this fear. In the case of Marc Summers, this seems like it was a self-prescribed option. But as he puts it,
in the moment of doing the show, it never bothered me. But the minute we were off camera, I was undressing in front of the kids, in front of the audience. I was taking my shirt off. And because they would love to throw green stuff at me and douse me with things. And it was all in good fun on the show. But then it was like this thing happened, the switch went off, and I wasn't on TV, and I was like, oh, I didn't want this stuff on me.
Could this be something in itself that being on camera, on stage, gives us a split personality, our show self rather than our regular self? Of course, I'm not actually doing camera personalities, I'm doing OCD, so back to that. The other solution is cognitive therapy, which is fairly straightforward. Reasoning your way out of the fear, and repeated processing of this logic can help ebb away any sort of fear that might be there. Challenging these old thoughts and teaching yourself to understand a new logical reasoning. Reinforcement, usually on a weekly basis, can help ebb away at the OCD tendencies of a patient. Marc Summers took a step to solve his own problem because he realized there was a problem. And if we could all do that with ourselves, the world might be a better place. But I'm not here to preach, I'm here to teach. So, with that said, I'm Cameron Austin on Sugar Angle. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'm sorry if this presentation seemed a bit perfectionist, but I'm just OCD like that.
Obsessive-compulsive disorder can work its magic in many ways. Mine was about being neat and clean and orderly. Some people are hoarders, that's a version of it. Some people count. There was one person I met once who would assign every letter in the alphabet a number. And so he could look at the word Josh and tell you right away how many points, how many numbers over there. So J was worth this and so he was so superstitious that he would only get off an exit on a freeway that was an even number. So if it said Ventura Boulevard, in his mind if it came out to be 39, he would drive to the next exit until it became an even number.